Yes, yes, that's about what I thought. One of my best friends works there, and all day, he said, never slow down one. I didn't see you, I would have spoken.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today as we celebrate Veterans Day, honoring some of our veterans here in the church. We're going to do things a little special today because we are going to be interviewing our veterans that are with us in the service. So I hope that'll be a blessing and challenge to everyone. Thank you. Bye-bye. Service as well. Would you stand with me, please? Let's have our pledges. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I pledge allegiance to the Christian flag and to the Savior for whose kingdom it stands, one brotherhood, uniting all Christians in service and in love. I pledge allegiance to the Bible, God's holy word. I will make it a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. I will hide its words in my heart, that I might not sin against God. Thank you. Please be seated. I want to welcome you to a very special service today as we honor our veterans on this special Veterans Day weekend. And we are glad that you're here with us, and we've got something a little different planned this morning, and I hope it'll be an encouragement to you. All right? So, we're going to kind of set everything else aside for this, because today we're going to do something special as we honor our veterans. I have been talking with some of you around the service, around the auditorium this morning. May I ask this? I know that Charles served, and I know that Stan served, and John served, Larry, were you in the military? I didn't think so. Bryce, were you in the military? And Bob was not in the military. Okay, and Al was not in the military. Are any of the ladies here this morning served in the military? Not that I'm aware of. Okay, so I know Stan and John and Charles served. John did not as well. I talked with him. Today, and it's going to be very informal. Okay, very informal. But we're going to interview these three guys. Okay? We're going to interview these three men. So, I'm going to ask this. John and Stan and Charles, if you would please, would you guys come up here? We're not going to embarrass you. I can assure you, we're not going to embarrass you.
Well, bring his chair up.
Terry, I'm going to take Mike Ford over here as well. So,
Bring his chair up.
oh, bring your own chair, John. BYOC. Come right up here, gentlemen.
Trying.
All right. Right, between these old guys. All right, John, there you go. We're going to get these microphones on. There we go. John, I'm going to give that to you. You're each going to have your own microphone. Let me get that thing turned on here. There you go. All right, Terry. Charles is on 3. Stan is on 2. John's on 4. Got that? Okay. So I thought today we'd do things a little differently. And this morning, and I know there are folks that are joining us, and maybe some that are joining us were in the military as well. But I thought we would take a little opportunity this morning to interview our veterans and get a little bit of their perspective on time in the military. All right? So we're going to ask a series of questions to them. You can all answer the question. If you don't have an answer, 1, 2, whatever it may be. But we'd like to hear some things from your point of view regarding your time in the service. All right? So let's begin with this. Charles, if you would, as you recall, a branch of service and the time that you were in the service.
United States Navy from 65.
That you're old, I can't hear you.
United States Navy, 65, 66.
Okay, something's not working there. Testing 1, 2, 3. Okay, just swallow that thing.
United States Navy, 65, 66. Closer?
There you go.
65, 66, Navy.
Yes.
Stan?
I was in the Army from 66 to 68.
66, 68 Army. John?
Air Force, 68 to 72.
All right, so there you have 3 different branches of the service represented by these guys in a span of several years there. Okay, so I put together a series of questions, and we'll give you a moment as you look at the question, and then we'll just kind of go down the line. If you have, excuse me, I got to get forward. Wait a minute. Okay. Question number 1. Y'all can see it here, and they can see it back there. Was there something that interested you in about the military, with the exception of the draft? In other words, did something interest you about joining the military? And I don't know. Maybe we should start by asking this: Were any of you drafted? Stan? Okay, you guys, and you were just about to be drafted, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the question would be then: was there something that interested you about the military, even though you faced the draft?
And your branch. Like, what interested them in their branch?
Yeah, maybe, and in the branch that you serve in. John, let's start with you.
Well, I've always been fascinated by aircraft, especially fighter jets, so that was the branch that I happened to get into.
Okay.
The Vietnam War was going on, so well, if I got to fight, I might as well do something that I'm attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tactical Air Command was for me.
All right. All right. There was that
Old
attraction.
John Wayne movies and things.
All right. Stan, was there any interest in any in the Army at that point?
I can't say that there was.
Okay.
Just,
But you were drafted, so you...
yes,
Okay.
I was drafted, but didn't have to go to Vietnam because my cousin was already there. We were the only,
Good family already there.
yeah,
So,
All right.
we're the only two scouts left.
Okay. And were they making a difference back then if in fact you had family already serving? Did that put you further down on the,
No, they put you out of the picture.
put you out of it altogether if you had family that were serving?
That
Okay.
were serving
In
in,
Vietnam.
In Vietnam, active duty. Okay. All right. Charles?
well, they had the physical one past that, and so, they said the next day, the Navy and the Marines would be taking it for 2 years. And so I decided I'd rather be in the Navy. And so the next day I was in Great Lakes in boot camp.
Just hold it a little closer.
There you go.
Okay. All right.
I have no idea, so if you get drafted, they tell you what branch you're going into?
no, usually the draft was just going into the Army.
Okay, so if you knew you were gonna be drafted, then you could pick. I mean, if you thought,
If
well,
you got quick,
okay, I have no idea.
And as a young man, were you able to watch and see where the draft was as far as numbers, or
I really didn't.
you really didn't really pay much attention to it as a kid?
Well, an interesting little thing, when I went to the Dutchess Center, there were a lot of draftees in line with me. They went Army, 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 Marines, Army, 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 Marines. Well, they numbered them all. Here's your number. If you're a number 8, a 16, or 32, you're going to be a Marine in the draft. So some got to choose, some didn't, depending on the need of that particular branch.
Okay. All right. And by the way, I want to mention this. I haven't looked to see, but I know Jerry and Sharon would normally be here, and Sharon had a knee replacement this past year. She's doing well with it, beginning her therapy, but they may be on. And just to round this out, Jerry was in the Marine Corps, and I forgot that they might not be here. And so if they're on, Jerry and Sharon, he may have some input, and we could read that. Romy's getting that picked up now. So, Jerry, if you're on, feel free to chime in there and have Sharon text it, and Heather will read it off. Okay? And that's interesting. I'm glad you asked that, Paula. I didn't know that about being drafted. So, Stan, from what you said, then the Army was the one doing the drafting.
Yes, we went in at Danville above the old hardware store. And when there wasn't any picking, like he said, we just went in and they checked us out kind of haphazardly, and then we all got on a bus and took off to Fort Knox.
Okay, and I'm going to ask a question about that in just a moment, all right? So, as far as interest, John, was there military in your family?
No.
Okay? And
Well, I
Stan
got
had,
a first cousin that was a Marine.
and Stan had some cousins that were already in Vietnam. Charles, was there military in your family?
I had a couple uncles on my mother's side that was in the Army.
Okay. All right. Very good. Let's go to the next question. And that was just it. Did you have family members? We just talked about that. Let's go to another. What is it that you remember about your enlistment? Now, Stan, you started the story there. You said you went to Danville, and it was where?
Above the old hardware store in Danville, which is on the southeast
By
corner.
the ice cream store.
Yeah, where the ice cream store is now.
Oh, okay, where Danville Dips is now on the
Yeah,
corner.
That was the big hardware store for Danville.
Okay. And the recruitment center was up above that.
Above it.
And did you get something in the mail that said you had to report there?
I got a telegram.
A telegram.
Seriously?
Okay. Interesting.
At the time I went, was a mass calling. I would say we had a whole busload up, say 65, that went that one day,
My goodness.
Wow.
and they all went to Fort Knox. I mean, the bus went from Danville to Fort Knox.
Yeah. So when you left home and you went to the recruitment station, did you know that day you'd be getting on a bus?
Yes.
Okay. You had the idea of exactly what's going on. Charles, what about you?
Well, The same place Stan did there in Danville, and had the physical, and they said I'd be drafted in a couple months into the Army. And they said the next day would be the last day the Marines and the Navy would be taking in for 2 years. So I went home and talked to Mom and Dad and decided I'd go for the Navy. And so went back the next day, and that evening they flew me to Michigan, and I was in boot camp at Great Lakes, Michigan.
Okay, we're going to ask about that in just a moment. All right. Kathy?
At one time, during the draft, I know they had to go through physicals, whether you went on or not.
Yeah.
Had you already been through the physicals at that point when they sent you on to boot camp?
They did the physical the first day. So,
Well, Eugene couldn't go because of the bad eyesight and surgery he just had. That booted him out of the draft.
Okay. All right. Okay, and if there are more questions, ask. It's an interactive type thing here. All right, we don't get a chance to do this very often, so we're going to take advantage of it. Okay, next question is, where then did you, and you talked about it, alluded to, where did you end up going to boot camp? John?
Amarillo Air Force Base. Kind of interesting because Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio was the main center for that, but it was full. The Vietnam War was going on, and I heard that they had an outbreak of spinal meningitis.
Oh, wow.
So they had quarantined certain areas of Lackland and opened up Amarillo. So mine was an old World War II wooden barracks type thing that you'd see in an old movie.
Yeah, yeah. So now, we didn't ask you about your enlistment. Where did you go to the recruiting station?
Another funny little story. Two of my buddies from high school, they were going to go down and enlist in the Marines, and I was driving them down there. And this is the old induction center downtown Indianapolis there on Washington Street. And so, well, I'll just go in the Air Force while I'm here. Mine took longer, but my physical was the day that I showed up to be inducted, and they give you as part of the, part of the induction services. You get your shots, or no, I didn't get any shots till I went to Vietnam, but they give you a physical, and it wasn't a long time, less than a month, and I took an airplane to Amarillo then.
So for you, what happened when you got then to Texas? Do you recall anything about those first couple days?
Yeah, it's just, kind of, I'm an 18-year-old kid who's kind of, just out, basically almost out of high school, and I'm on an airplane by myself to Amarillo. I get on the phone and said, "Hi, I'm from Indianapolis. I'm here to be in the Air Force." And so they sent somebody out from the air base to pick me up, and then I holed up in a room for a couple of days till they put a squadron together. And called us rainbows because we didn't have uniforms yet. We all had different colored clothes on, so we were rainbow recruits in without uniforms yet.
Did it take a while to get your
Oh,
uniforms?
just within a few days, it was all. Then, your drill instructor, you started learning to march and listen to somebody shout at you.
Yeah. Of course, they were always kind, I'm sure.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. All right, Stan, tell us a little bit about where did you go to boot camp, and what you remember about getting there.
Getting there was just a bus ride down from Danville, and I went to Fort Knox, and they took us in, and much like him, I was in a wooden barracks, and the first thing we did was get off the bus and line up, and we were told how much we were loved, and how good looking we were, and I made the mistake of saying I was a farm boy, and I was related to a lot of sheep. So, but we went right from there. They took your suitcases. We were allowed to have a small suitcase, kind of like a carry-on, and they gently stored those in the back of a deuce and a half, and I never saw them again. In fact, I never saw my civilian clothes again after that.
Wow.
And we were given greens and just all lined up and walked through, and you told them what size you were, and they gave you whatever they wanted.
No, it wasn't custom fit.
No, it was not a custom fit.
Okay, all right, so that was at
Wow.
Fort Dix,
Fort Knox.
or Fort Knox. Was that a tank?
It was artillery.
Okay, artillery. Okay,
And tanks. I can't remember what all was there. I got in, when I left there, I went out to Fort Carson, and that's where we were in personnel carriers and tanks and so forth.
yeah, yeah,
I got my indoctrination into
I can imagine.
running those around.
Good. Charles, and tell us a little bit about you going to boot camp for you.
Well, I took a plane, it was the first airplane I've been on,
Oh,
to Michigan. And,
Were there other inductees with you?
yes, there was several of us. And like Stan said, we got our hair cut and
You guys never did get over that, did you? That's one heck of a haircut.
yeah, we got our clothes and then they march us through and give us shots and they have these air needles and they get you from both sides
seriously?
and so that was fun. And then this sergeant or it was a chief, I guess. Well, he become chief while I was there. He was real proud of becoming a chief, and of course he made sure we was up and doing everything and taught us how to march and. In the Navy, you have to serve watches all the time, whether he's watching the door or just standing in the middle.
Say it again, you have to do what?
Standing watches.
Oh, okay, stand on.
Yeah, 4-hour watches all the time come up. If you just stand in the middle of the floor and with your rifle or piece and just stand there for 4 hours or whatever. And got to meet new people and everything, of course, from all over the country.
No, I can imagine. Did any of the three of you end up, after you got there, did you know anyone that went at the same time that you did? Any local guys that you?
I didn't.
Yeah. Okay. Questions about those early days in boot camp? Let's see where we go from here. All right. Did any of you have any specialized training after boot camp? Did you go on then to other, and Stan, you talked about, you went from there to Fort Carson?
Yeah, that was AIT, Advanced Technical Training.
And that was, and I should have asked this, is boot camp the same duration in all branches of the service? Charles, how long were you in boot camp?
6 weeks. It was pretty short. It was trying to get us through quickly, I guess.
Trying to get you shipped out where you needed to be?
Yes.
Stan, how long was your original basic?
Actually, I was in basic at Knox for 2 months, and then flew from here, or from Knox to Fort Carson, and after that, and I think I was out there till first of the year, and then
So several weeks combined
several
there.
weeks.
John, how about yours?
I think my boot camp was 6 weeks, and then I went to, they call it tech school. I went to Chanute Air Force Base in Illinois then for my technical training, which is a machine shop,
Okay.
and that lasted, see, I went in May, got there, in July till November, December then, when I got out of school.
All right, so there's several extra weeks of training beyond that. And Charles, when you left there then, where did you go after boot camp?
Went to New London, Connecticut, underwater sound lab. It was mostly civilians. They did work on submarines, detecting submarines, and it was on the Thames River there, right across from the electric boat where they made the submarines. And we had a pier out there where they commissioned new submarines. They did that, there was a couple commissioned while I was there. And, I was on an 83-foot cutter. We took it to Fisher's Island, took civilians out there they did their experiments out there in the light. And,
And can you tell us anything about those experiments?
no,
You didn't really know exactly.
they were just passengers we took out.
Okay.
I didn't really know them, or it was different ones, seemed like. And
Were there like technicians or scientists or?
yes, I believe
Okay,
so.
so doing some sort of testing.
Yes.
Okay.
We had there was a cable layer, ship there, and a captain's gig, a small boat for the captain, and LCM. They did different crews did different things with those. There was another 83-foot cutter there.
What does it mean when you say cutter? For those of us that just don't know what it means.
It's just a regular ship.
Okay.
It's
I mean, you didn't carry any.
No.
There wasn't anything on the
No.
ship. It just
a big boat.
just cutting through the water, maybe.
Yeah.
Cutter. Okay.
Yeah, just
All right. Stan, talk to us a little bit about your training when you went on to Fort Carson.
And that was in the mechanized, I went out there as a mechanic, a mechanic was my only title. Didn't say anything after that. But I worked on, armored vehicles, all the armored vehicles. I was in charge of a tank retriever, which is a rather large tank. It has a small boom on it and a lot of power.
Yeah, like torque.
We had a grass fire or something, brush fire on Mount McKinley, and they took us out there, and we had 3 tank retrievers that went out, used the blade on those to cut fire paths and stuff. And they brought them back, and we had to wash them and polish them and clean them up inside.
Yeah. Imagine.
But the size of that base out there at Fort Carson was a rather large base. We went out 30 years afterwards and tried to get on the base, and I forget what was going on, but they wouldn't allow us on the base even with credentials. It was only for active duty. I went out there just to see what it looked like. When I went out, I went from Knox being in a wood barracks out there to being in a wood barracks with a lot of airflow. And we had a dust storm one time. And at night, we just, in order to sleep, you had to throw a blanket over your head to be able to breathe. And got up the next morning, there was about an inch of sand or dirt and everything in the barracks, and so we spent 2 days cleaning barracks. And then when a month after that, we got to move into new barracks, and that was plush. It was block buildings. And
Yeah, imagine.
we had Air Force beds. We didn't have cots. Actually, comfy beds.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah.
At least that's what we were told. Air Force beds. I don't know. I never was involved with the Air Force.
Yeah. John, tell us a little bit about that specialized training.
Well, it was a really well-equipped machine shop, and we had teachers that taught us milling machines and lathes and shapers and grinders and everything, drill presses, saws, and 6 or 8 weeks. Of course, my training went on for the whole 4 years. Most was more on the job training than you would get just in the 6 weeks of school.
Yeah. And what would be something that were you manufacturing pieces that they needed, or what would it entail?
No, mostly just repair aircraft. In Vietnam and in Arizona both, I basically specialized in the F-4 Phantom jets, but they had the brake packs where I think there was 7 rotors and 8 stators on each wheel of the fighter jets, and they would get really hot, and then they would have to be basically rebuilt. But our job was to test them to see if they were in tolerance or not. So I did some of that. Helicopter blades, if they got a scratch in, we had to determine how deep the scratch was and how long it was, and then we'd have a manual that tell us if it was rejected or not, if it was safe to fly, and just, lots of different things like that.
Yeah.
In Arizona, we had these little test bombs that were designed for an F-100. Well, when they went to use them on the F-4, then we had to modify them. Just hundreds of them. They were just little smoke bombs for testing on the bomb range, things like that.
Interesting. All right, let's go on to another question.
John,
Oh, yeah.
did you volunteer for that, or were you told this is what you're going to do?
As I got out of boot camp, there was a big list of things that you could get, you might put 3 choices down and decide which career field you went into. And I think they decided it by, like, your test scores, how well suited you were for a particular career field. So I scored real well on my, entrance exams for the mechanical area, so then I probably got that as my first choice. My dad was a tool and die maker, so that sounds like a good idea. You're 18 years old, you're too stupid to make real decisions by yourself.
They were glad to make it for you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Charles, did you have any choices in where you went from boot camp or what field you were going to?
No, I asked for sea duty and I got shore duty. And once I got there, I had put that I had typing, and so there was an officer that come to me and asked me to come work in his office. I said, well, I'd rather be down the cove working on engines and the like. And he said, well, I'm not asking you. So in typing, I typed like 20 words a minute. And so I was there about a week, and then a new guy come in, and I got replaced.
Okay. Stan, did you have any choice on where you went from boot camp?
No,
Okay.
I took, much like he did, I took a test, and that's how they addressed the MOS too, and then after that it was forever.
Yeah. You were there. All right. Let's see. Next question. Let's see. There we go. If were any of you deployed outside the country? John?
Cam Run Bay, Vietnam.
Okay, you went on to Vietnam, and there during that time, were you able to visit any other countries?
Just to stop over on the way on a flight, stopped in Tokyo and stopped in Guam, but it's just to get out of the plane for an hour and walk around and look out the window and everything, but not a visit.
What can you tell us about your, I guess I'd say your first thoughts when you landed in Vietnam? Can you recall any of your first impressions?
We call it the Cameron Hilton. It's like, oh boy, is this where I'm going to live?
Yeah, and I mean, all we know are the documentaries and the movies and what have you. Was it that sweltering heat and a lot of humidity?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Living in Arizona is a piece of cake compared to Vietnam. It's 105 and 100% humidity.
Yeah.
And you got a poncho on, and you're wet, just as wet under your poncho as you are on top of it. The monsoon rains, Cameron is basically a big sandbar sticking out in the ocean, and the water would be up to your ankles because it rained so hard you couldn't even get off of the beach that fast,
Yeah. So you didn't have a lot of free time to...
A little bit, not much. Being on the beach, I could go down and get in the ocean or in the South China Sea, and it's a nice beach, beautiful sand, black sand and everything from the volcanoes, and just kind of hang out. And of course, I was married at the time, so I went to Hawaii on R&R. So met Rose over there. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Had my 20th birthday over there.
Did your 20th birthday?
Seems awfully young now.
Yep. Stan or Charles, did either one of you have opportunity to travel outside the country during that time at all, Stan?
After I was in Germany for almost a year, then I got 7 days or 8 days off, and 3 of us were buddies over there. We jumped a plane and went to Amsterdam, Belgium, across the straits there, and went into England and traveled a little bit in there. And we had a good time. I mean,
Was the attitude of those people pretty good toward the U.S. soldiers?
you were dressed in uniform, you were dressed in civilian
Okay,
clothes.
so they were not
So
necessarily
they
where you
didn't know
were.
whether you were, unless they could recognize you by your haircut.
Yeah. And were you told that you were not to be in uniform?
No,
Okay.
that came later.
You just wanted out of it and be able to dress in
So we
civilian.
just, we wanted to go party. We partied. Where I was in Germany, I was in a nuclear base that was close to Primozen, say 5 miles. And then we'd go to Primozans and party as much as the young boy could. And then after that, then I started driving a deuce and a half, and that's how everybody did in town. They'd go to town with a deuce and a half, and then we'd be back at 11 o'clock. You'd be here. If you're not, then it's a nice 5-mile walk back.
Now, a deuce and a half, is that a 1.5-ton truck?
10.5 ton truck.
2.5. Okay.
And it was a haul truck, had tailgate flip down, had a foot pad on it. You could step and then step up into the back of the truck.
Okay.
And then there were seats up in the truck that folded down.
Okay. All right. So that's what we've seen in the on movies, and it's kind of a tarp-like
Yes.
on the back end. Okay.
And that's, when I was over there, then I was assigned to the wrecker. And it was nothing but a big boom truck. And during my time in Germany there, that's when de Gaulle threw NATO out of France. And so we were on a convoy. It was 2 days over into France. We picked up nuclear warheads, and I was assigned to be lifting them and mounting them, or putting them on deuce and a half, 5-ton trucks. And the big thing about it was they'd bring them out of these caves or whatever they were. I never got inside, so I don't know what they were inside. But they'd bring them out and set them down, and we'd have to reach over and pick them up, put them on the truck. And they had funny ribbons on them. And all I know was they said, don't touch the ribbons. So we loaded them on the trucks, and then the convoy took off back to Germany. And it's like we went this way, and the trucks with the warheads on them went another way, and we never saw where they ended up.
Right. Okay. Charles, did you ever go outside the country at any point during time?
We went to New York City and
New York City. That's pretty well out of our country.
seen the Statue of Liberty and
Yeah. You'll see it.
Empire State Building.
All right.
And
Okay.
I was like,
That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Any questions so far? All right, let's go to the next question. What was the most enjoyable thing that you received from back home? As you think back, the packages or whatever, if you were able to, do you recall some of those things that you got and what really would, light a guy's eyes up? John?
Oh, 2 things come to mind. My mother's sister sent me a shoebox full of peanut brittle, And I shared it, lasted about 12 minutes maybe. And then Rosie sent me an electric skillet and Chef Boyardee pizza mixes that I could mix up in my barracks because you couldn't get those in the chow hall, and that was kind of a taste of home. And I remember that.
Yeah. And that's something, all these years later, peanut brittle and homemade pizza, huh? Yeah. All right. Stan, do you remember anything?
You got a Dear John letter.
Must have been him, it wasn't been a Stan.
And then shortly after, my mother made the mistake and told the young lady she needed to write to me. And so I started corresponding with her. It seemed like I was corresponded for about a year.
Is that the way that happened? Peggy, his mom said, you need to write to my son?
I ran into her someplace and I just asked how he was doing.
Yeah.
And she said, well, he got a Dear John letter. Why don't you write him a letter? So I did, and
Yeah.
oh no.
Things-
And look what happened. 56 years ago.
And do you have any idea, even back then, John, like how long it took to get something to you?
Yeah, it was, I mean, it seemed like a long time, but mostly the letters came within a few days, but that package probably took a week or more.
Okay, well, that's not too often. About the same stand? I mean, were you able to get letters?
Letters came just fine. My mother sent me a cake for my birthday. Evidently, she thought it would get there on time. But when I
Hold that up.
opened it up, it wasn't so much of a cake as it was a lot of crumbs.
Yeah.
It wasn't handled gently.
Kind of like the luggage.
Yeah,
Okay. But she actually sent you a cake and through the mail.
through the mail.
Wow. Okay. All right. And Peggy, you guys wrote then for some time.
We wrote for some time, and he came home unexpectedly because of his dad's illness. And we started seeing each other and got married the next October.
Oh, wow.
Very good. Very good. Charles, what do you recall about packages from back home or letters?
Well, I had letters from Mother, and she sent some cookies one time. John said they didn't last very long.
No, I don't imagine they would last very long. If the rest of the guys found out you had them,
Yeah, right.
everybody was your friend, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Were you dating Teresa beforehand?
No.
Okay. All right. So that was pre-Teresa days.
Yes.
Okay. All right. John, were you able to get letters in from Rose during that time as well?
Yes, they were real regular, and
Okay.
a couple of other friends of hers, they would write me too. And Susan and Becky, I got letters from them back home also.
Could you make phone calls?
No,
Okay. You weren't
no.
at that point. Okay. Stan, were you able to call home occasionally?
No, but they were able to call when Dad got sick and everything. Then the ministers of the church that Mom and Dad were at, they got with the Red Cross, and the Red Cross was able to
Notify you.
get in contact with our CO,
I see.
and then that's how I found out. He came down and told me.
Rose's dad passed while I was there, and I think they used shortwave radio operators to relay it around the world.
Oh, really? I'm sorry, you said who was?
Rosie's dad had passed
Rosie.
away when I
Yeah.
was there.
Were you able to come home for that?
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Charles, were you able to make phone calls back home?
Yes.
Because you were in the States, of course.
Yes. Just
Yeah.
use a payphone.
Yeah, payphone. Yeah. You remember a payphone?
You
All right.
You didn't pick it up and talk into it.
Yeah, this is the thing to keep in our pocket, right? Okay. All right. Any other questions there about back home? Okay, let's move on. Gentlemen, how were you paid? John, how were you paid while in the military? Were you paid? You weren't there volunteer.
Yeah, I don't remember. I guess I can remember going to
Script or?
it just showed up somehow. I don't remember that.
But it was it.
All I remember is you took
guess it came in the mail apparently, and that was a,
Okay. Were they doing any, I mean, we would call it direct deposit. In other words, did it go into your bank account or did it actually come to you or?
I think I went to, person, I had a, mailbox, I get my mail, I probably got a check in the mail, and we had a bank branch right there at Cameron Bay. I'm
Okay,
guessing.
you had a,
So did they mail Rose's part to her?
Yes,
You did a designation and they would mail it directly to her?
yes. And then, of course, in Vietnam, we didn't have dollars, they were
like a script?
a script, yeah.
Yeah. Same with the Army stand, how do they manage your?
In the Army, we assigned to have what we wanted. And when I was over in Germany, I didn't need a lot of money, so I sent most of it home to an account. And then the paymaster would come out to our barracks and actually, you had to go through and sign for what you had coming to at that time.
Yeah.
And after that, then,
And then did you have to go through the whole currency thing with when it was all done in
Germany was, at that time, they liked it.
Oh, yeah.
They wanted the dollar, because the dollar was actually worth more than what their money was.
Yeah, they wanted your money.
We'd get haircuts or anything, we'd go into town and get a haircut, and then, they would be more than happy to take your currency to get a haircut.
Yeah. Yeah. Charles, how were you paid?
Well, I'm not sure either. I guess it just come in the mail. I know I had a bank account and I just had a bank account there and I put my money in there and what I didn't use.
Yeah. So you had a bank account there while you were in the service?
Yes.
Okay. So you could have whatever you needed, the rest was kept in that?
Yeah.
Then was that changed then when you got out of service?
Yes, I just went through it home, brought it home.
Cashed it out and brought it home?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Questions about that? Dennis?
Not about that. They talked about relationships, but all of our dads were in World War II. How were your dads when you got your draft notice? How were your dads? What were their feelings? I know my dad, when I got my notice to go for physical, my dad cried. So, how were your dads?
John, do you remember, was your dad alive at that time?
Yes, he didn't serve in World War II. He had a job deferment. He worked at Stuart Warner. They built radiators for the Sherman tanks, so he had a job deferment. And plus, he was pretty old. He was already, 06, so he was 35 years old when the war started.
Okay. All right. Stay, do you remember, was your dad, I know his health declined.
Yeah, now I'd say his worry was I was going to Vietnam and get killed, so, I mean,
Same with
that
a lot
was
of
his
dads.
biggest worry.
Absolutely. Charles?
When Dad didn't serve either, he worked at Allison's, and he also got a piece of steel in his eye, and I don't really know which one kept him out, but
Yeah.
he didn't serve. But he just,
Yeah. So in each of your cases, you were first generation to serve. That's for your immediate family. Okay? All right, let's continue on. And I know this is a tough one because there no doubt were many, but is there a memorable event of military service that really even yet today stands out in your mind that you feel that you could share? John, anything that you still, you think about this even yet today?
Well, yeah, sort of. The whole Vietnam experience was, well, I guess the word would be bewildered, but I was the youngest guy in the shop, so everything that nobody else wanted to do, I got to do, and that was actually the best part about being there. I went and flipped hamburgers at the officers club. I flew down to Ton Son Nhut Air Base just to pick up a bag of glass beads for the bead blaster. The chaplain for the air base was a Catholic priest. He was a lieutenant colonel, and they had orphanage in the town of Cameron, and they needed some work done, so I got volunteered for that, and the guy from the welding shop, we went down there and repaired a fence and a few doors and stuff, and
Yeah.
the chaplain, you know, gave us a steak dinner at the officers club. That was pretty memorable.
I guess.
And, we had those, forward air controllers, those Cessna aircraft. We had 2 of them, and they would get shot down occasionally. And so they sent a engine mechanic, an airframe mechanic, and a machinist. And I went out into the field, into a little backwoods no place where this plane was sitting on the ground. We took the wings off of it, loaded it on a flatbed and sent it back. That was pretty exciting. And I had a helmet, flak jacket, and, you know, rifle training.
Yeah.
They had, you know, if we thought the air base was gonna get overrun, they had augmentees and reservists, so I took the rifle training and served a few nights with the air police patrolling the perimeter of the air base
Yeah.
as a backup in case something went sour. It never did, but it was because I was 19 years old, so let him do it.
Yeah, it would be an adventure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it turned out to me to be the best part of it.
absolutely. All right. Stan, anything, I mean, as you think back on things?
Can't think of anything right offhand
Yeah.
that I did a lot of things. There's a lot of places.
Yeah.
I guess that was the trip that we took when we were over there, the 3 of us, and taking a ship across the straits and so forth. That was kind of neat, but we slept most of the way, so we didn't really realize what you were doing, but we actually went the same trail as
Right.
World War II. I guess in Germany, when we would, whatever we were doing, we'd be traveling out, whether we'd go out to bivouac or whatever, you seen the remains of World War II. In fact, on our base, we had a pillbox that we used when we went on alert.
Yeah.
And that was kind of one of the things that was kind of neat. You jumped in that pillbox and you were armed with live ammunition because you were protecting the missile base is what you were doing. And our place was and we called it the graveyard. It's where all the bad vehicles that couldn't be repaired, we put those out there, and we were in amongst all those, this cement pillbox. But those were all over the place. You could travel or anything. Several times we'd go out to go places, and you'd see the pillboxes or the even larger areas of just masses of concrete that was poured for these defensive positions.
Were those Nazi pillboxes then?
Yes, they
Yeah,
were.
so they were, yeah. Well, that's interesting.
There's a lot of history there, and
Yeah.
made you kind of work your mind a little bit, what transpired.
Yeah,
with this.
what went on? Yeah, that's for sure.
They called it the Siegfried, I think it's the Siegfried Line.
Siegfried Line.
And that was nothing but a line along in the side of the mountains and the hills and so forth of defensive positions. They just lined like every 100 foot there was one. And so they were quite prevalent.
Yeah, that would be memorable.
You'd go out and get in those and walk around them, and a lot of times we'd be out of the motor pool, we'd be assigned to take somebody to one of the larger bases, or the air base they were going to fly out, go somewhere for a meeting or something. And we'd travel on the Autobahn, and for anybody that doesn't know what the Autobahn was, it's a racetrack.
Yeah,
Because
no speed limit.
there's no speed limit. And you were in a Jeep that only, when you maxed it out at about 60 mile an hour, the wheels come up and were concaved in. So if you made a wrong turn or quick move or anything with it, you were rolling.
Oh,
And they had no safeguards of seat belts or anything in them. But that was
that would be interesting.
interesting.
Yeah, and I'm sure a lot of guys took it to the limit.
We went out, Ben on the record, we went out and retrieved quite a few.
Yeah, I imagine. Charles, do you remember anything that really stuck out in your mind that you recall yet today?
Well, there were several things. The one time we went to Block Island, which was, it was out far enough you didn't see land at all. And coming back, it got really rough, and the ship was rolling, and the screws would come out of the water, and the engine would rev up. I was down in the engine room most of the time. Well, I'd been seasick one time, and it took 2 or 3 weeks to get over that. But I didn't get seasick when it got so rough there. And there was a second class there. He'd been out to sea, and he got sick, and I didn't. So I was pretty proud of him.
Now, when you said the screw, you're talking about the screw of the propeller
Yes.
of the ship actually
Yeah, it was.
come up out of the water.
Yeah.
That's rolling.
Yeah, it is. It was. Yeah, I was getting a little worried because.
I can see where you were.
Yeah, we saw another ship going in, and we followed it in, and I was glad to get back to the river.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another time we went to Fisher's Island, and I had this group of Girl Scouts. We was taking over to the far side of the island. We never went over there, and the captain nosed it in toward the pier, and he didn't get very close. So I was on the bow, had this 1.5 inch rope probably, or line. They call it in the Navy, it's a line. And it was about, probably 25 foot from this hole that held us, you know. So I heaved it out there and I hit it. All these girls let out a
Cheered.
cheer.
Cowboy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just act like I aimed to do this, you know.
Surprised you as much as it did him.
Right, yeah. And then we was getting out, and we went to talk to this lieutenant, and he'd come up through the ranks, and he'd been at Burkeville for harbor. And he said, well, I hope you don't judge the Navy too harshly, because this is not the Navy, you know, it's shore duty, and there's only like 40 enlisted men there, and a lot of times we didn't have much to do but polish brass. So,
Yeah.
I remember that also.
Yeah. John, what do you remember about coming home? Where did you come home to?
Well, the process in and out of Fort Lewis, Washington, coming back then, and so, well, actually, we landed in Seattle Tacoma Airport. I kissed the ground when I got out.
Yeah.
And couldn't wait, you know, flew to Chicago, to Indianapolis. I just almost running through the terminals, you know, to get back home.
Yeah.
And glad to see him, you know. My sister was crying, my wife was crying, my parents were crying.
Yeah. Yep. Glad to have the boy home.
Yeah.
That's right. Sam, what was that experience like getting home?
I came home 2 months short of the full term, and flew into New Jersey. And I was in dress greens, and when I got off the plane, I got run out to the concourse going into the airport out there in New Jersey, and I was met by 2 MPs, and I was told to ask if I had any civilian clothes. And I said, yeah, I got clothes in my suitcase or duffel bag, and they escorted me into the men's restroom, and I had to change clothes before I broke out there.
Was that, you think, because of some of the negative attitude towards?
There's a lot of negative attitude at that
Yeah.
time. And even after I got home, there was so much attitude that kind of upset me.
To tarnish your memory of what you did.
It didn't tarnish my memory for
Yeah.
what I did. It made me have less of a memory for the people that were doing it.
What year was that?
It was 68.
68.
I never saw any of that. Rosie and I went to, I have a cousin that lived in Arizona. We went down to Encanto Park in Phoenix, and it was just full of hippies. And here I am, all high and tight and everything, and nobody gave me a second look. Just, how you doing, buddy? You know, you come from Nam? Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's good.
I never saw one bit of that kind of attitude towards me.
Yeah. Charles, how about coming home?
Well, a friend, he had a car, he lived in Illinois, and, so I think there was 3 of us drove back.
From up, northeast,
Yeah.
all the way to Omaha.
Connecticut, yeah, drove through Pennsylvania and across the country and
Yeah,
dropped us off on the way.
very good, very good. Debbie?
Have you guys stayed in contact with any of the people that you met at the fair that came from the city?
John, have you stayed in contact with anyone?
No.
Stan, how about you? Not really. Charles?
I had a friend lived up in Napanee, Indiana, and we got together for years. We met in Kokomo, about halfway between Teresa and I and his wife, and went out to eat and shopping, and
Yeah.
did that for several years till he passed away
Yeah.
a few years ago.
Hmm.
And I talked to a couple others. Well, we sent cards to the one in Illinois for several years, but that's dropped off too.
Yeah. Yeah. Other questions?
John, if you were 18 again, would you do it again?
I believe so. Under those circumstances, I'm not sure I'd want to serve the way the United States is now.
Today?
Yeah. Right? Kenny?
Yeah, I had a question. My uncle was in World War II, but he was after the war was over. And he went over there and his company cleaned up, did a lot of cleanup and so forth in Europe. And one of the things he always told about was KP duties. That's kitchen duties. Did you guys know anything about that? He was always telling me that he had to feel safe all the time.
John? Serve KP?
Not in boot camp, but I did at tech school in Illinois. The toaster was this great big machine that you could load a loaf of bread in about as fast as you could open the loaf one morning. And then another morning, I was out on the dock, and there was a farmer, pig farmer, he backed a trailer up there, and all the garbage cans, I emptied the garbage cans into that trailer, and then there was a valve on the concrete floor. You turned the garbage cans upside down, stepped on a pedal, and it steam cleaned the inside of the garbage can. Did that.
Pretty efficient.
Yeah, and I washed dishes a couple times. But
Yeah. Stan, do you ever,
Yeah, I did.
I want to ask if it was willful.
No,
Did
no, it was.
they
you were
invited,
just
they
kind of-
invited you to do that?
Yeah, they pretty much, you had a lot of choice in it, so. But,
Yeah.
one thing that I remember so much was, it was I think when I was out at Fort Carson, I served on KP one time, and we did potatoes. And we dumped them in a vat that's probably 3 foot in diameter and probably 3 foot tall. And then you turned it on and they went round and round. And it took all the coating off the outside of the potato so that you had nothing but a raw potato left. It was kind of rough, but it's nothing. And that's how, when they started cooking, the cooks started cooking. They started with that raw potato. And it was always amazing to me how they did that.
Yeah.
And I had one time we were out at Fort Carson, we was on bivouac. And I'd stood guard duty for a double shift. So I'd been out there for 8 hours on the line in snow. And then I went back and thought I'd get in my little tent and catch some shut-eye. And then somebody grabbed me by the foot and pulled me out of the tent and said that I was on KP duty. And so I got to stand KP duty for another 6 hours or so for the day.
I might add that when I first got to tech school, then I had a few weeks between boot camp before my school actually started. So that's called casual time, and that was all my KP time was in that casual period. Once I started school, then there was no more KP.
Yeah. Too busy for that. Charles, you ever served KP?
Oh, yes, in boot camp, we, first there was a line, you stood there and put food on everybody's plates as they went through.
Yeah, that was you, huh?
Yeah, and then a week or so later, I was in charge of the line, so one time that they needed, they had these big cans of food, pretty heavy, and had these lightweight guys out there, so I thought I'd run and get the can of food with short on, and I took off and I stopped to get my bearings of where things was located, what I needed, and this guy come up, what the blank are you doing? Yeah. And so, but that's kind of the way it went, you know.
Yeah.
I got this stuff and got back to the line. Yeah, I was busy.
This guy's just a party machine right here. It's got trouble running all over. All right. Any other questions that you have at this point that you're thinking of? Honey, was there anything
He
mentioned?
did not, no.
Okay.
I asked and there's no response.
No response there.
No.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm going to tell you guys.
Oh, I lied.
Okay, what do you got?
Well, I'm sorry, hang on. I was in the Army and National Guard for a total of 27 years, Vietnam veteran. That's Jerry.
That's Jerry. Okay, it was, all right. I had him as Marine Corps.
And if I remember right, Bud is also a veteran.
I believe so. Yep.
Urban.
I think he was in the Navy as well. So,
Oh, and I wonder if Jim was. Oh, this just says blessings to all, Jim and Barb. I don't know.
okay. I don't know if Jim was or not.
I don't remember.
All right. Well, I hope you guys have found it interesting. I certainly have, to be able to hear these things firsthand. And gentlemen, you know, whether you never left whatever, or whether you were on foreign soil, number one, you're still a veteran, and number two, I think that you can take great pride in the time that you were here, and I know you do. And we as a country owe a debt of gratitude. I don't care who you were, where you were serving, what you were doing, but we owe a debt of gratitude to each of you. So would you join me in that? Amen. All right, thank you, gentlemen. We're going to, let me just grab those from you so we'll have it. Thank you, Stan. Thank you, gentlemen.
John, you mess? We had to call the fire department for that.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that. You know, in all these years, you keep thinking about things to do for Veterans Day and what have you. And I thought today we would just take a little time and ask some of those questions a bit behind the scenes. So thank you, gentlemen. I know you were, none of them knew we were going to be doing that, so I appreciate that kind of off the cuff. Let's take a few moments, if we can, and just reflect as we observe communion together this morning. You know, we hear all of this, and we can go to the scripture and think about those soldiers back in that day. And I couldn't help but think about the Apostle Paul. While he was being held prisoner there in Rome, Paul could look out of a cell, and it was more than just Rome and other places, but he could see these soldiers round about him, and no doubt had interaction with him along the way. And there's one thing we think about a soldier, and that is whether they were asked to be there or told to be there, they were fulfilling a duty. And when I think about our Lord, and when Jesus came to this world, he was fulfilling a duty. And that was greater than anything else. He was here to redeem the souls of mankind. And this morning, as we observe communion, and we have a grateful heart as we think about Veterans Day, we can also be thankful this morning for the greatest soldier of all, the champion of all, the Lord Jesus Christ, and what he did for us on the cross of Calvary. Would you bow with me? Lord, we thank you this morning for this little morsel of bread and what it means to us as we think today about you being willing, surrendering yourself to the cross. We really struggle to wrap our brain around that, what it meant to willfully lay down your life. But yet, Lord, you loved us enough. The scripture says, even though while we were yet sinners, you died for us. It wasn't that we were worthy of your love, and that's what makes it so very special. So as we partake of this little morsel of bread this morning, as we take just this moment of thanksgiving, may we do so with a grateful heart. Thank you for your body that was given as a sacrifice for us. And as we receive this now, may we be mindful of your love for us. And then, Lord, as we take this little vial of juice, we're so grateful this morning, Lord, for the fact that you gave your life's blood to not only cover, but to remove as a payment for our sin once and for all. The price was paid, and we are grateful. And as we partake this morning, may we, with a grateful heart, offer our thanks to you for what you have done for us, what you're still doing for us as your children in providing salvation and redemption through that precious blood. Amen. Amen. I think we're just going to say our songs. Okay. Yeah, let me go back. I'm going to go back in time here. Stand with me if you would, please. Let's finish with one song. How about that? Sing with me now. Encamped along the hills of light, Christian soldiers rise and press the battle ere the night shall veil the blue sky. Against the foe in veils below, let all our strength be hurled. Faith is the victory we know that overcomes the world. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. His banner over us is love. I swore the word of God. We tread the road the saints above with shouts of triumph trod. By faith they like our world to press, swept on o'er every field. The faith by which they conquer death is still our shining shield. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. To him that overcomes the foe, I pray it shall begin. Before the angels he shall know his name confessed in heaven. Then onward from the hills of light, our hearts with love aflame, will vanquish all the hosts of night in Jesus' conquering name. Faith is the victory. Faith is the victory. Oh, glorious victory that overcomes the world. Amen. I want to make one announcement as we're dismissed this morning, and I'm reading here on Sunday, December the 8th. Sunday, December the 8th, we'll be having our final pitch-in of the year. Church will be doing the chicken. No.
Because we will be turkeyed out. So we
Oh, we're
don't
gonna be-
need
okay.
chicken. Church will not be.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So everybody bring your own meats, your casseroles, your crock pots of meat.
Okay, so this is all on families. Bring something in and we'll lay it all out together in an old-fashioned church pitch-in. Sunday, December the 8th. All right? What day is that going to be on? Sunday what? December 8th. You've got it. Lord bless you. Have a great week. Hey, thanks for joining us, folks. Hope you have a great week. Bye now.